Happy New Year and welcome back to the channel. Today we are gonna be playing out the Focke-Wulf D-13 and yes, my voice sounds like shit, I know, I can't really help it. The D-13 is a plane that thrives in RRB because it's decently fast, it climbs well enough and is very maneuverable at higher speeds. The roll rate is very responsive and together with the fact that you have three 20mm quite closely packed together, makes for pretty damn good firepower and very good nose authority. So you can just kinda cut through an entire team, shoot them all down and be on your merry way. The main issue here comes from when you either get up-tiered or when you have to carry. When you have to carry in this thing, it might be a bit of a high task, depending on the BR that you're flying at. At 5.0, you are pretty competitive. At 4.0, this thing absolutely rails the entire lobby. And at 6.0, I mean, F2Gs are not gonna give you much of a chance if they are decent at the game. Because they do basically everything you do, just slightly better. You do have better guns and you do kinda turn better at some speeds. However, the F2G just has infinite energy retention and it will just always be able to keep going up. And this will make it pretty rough to fly and you need to be careful with picking your targets. If you pick the wrong target and you get someone on your 6, like the Spitfire that we have above us right here, your game is essentially over because it takes you very long to equalize the energy states. So when I get a guy diving on me like this, and he might have milk for me, but I really don't want any of it right now, I'm simply going to ignore him because we are a lot faster. And yes, he is above us, he has a better climb rate, so he will be able to sit behind us like that for the rest of the game. But instead of worrying about it, I'm just gonna outrun him for a little bit and start shooting the stuff that's in front of me, because that's what this plane is good at. Kill the G6, we just keep flying straight and the Spitfire is still kinda chasing us. I'm just kinda hoping that he's gonna engage one of my teammates so I can re-engage him, because most of the time Spitfires kinda go for the first guy that they see. So there is a chance that he will just keep going for us. However, he does not, he engages the 109, he instantly gets engaged by the 190 above him. But as of right now he has a lot of energy. So I'm just kind of breaking off for a little bit, trying to get a little bit of separation, a bit of altitude, store my energy a little bit better. So when I do come in, the Spitfire will actually be completely free to kill. Now the 109 gets killed because the 190 basically took too long and he is being way too passive. And because of that, the Spitfire just got a free dogfight with the 109. We now go head on with the Spitfire. I mean, he's at this point in a pretty bad spot. And I should be able to just kind of dive on him and shoot him down right here. We don't have the ability to pull our nose into him, but we saw that it's a Mark 5, so we don't really have to worry too much. It's the one with the 420mm. The performance of that plane really isn't that great, and I thought it was a different Spitfire, which is why I played it so cautiously. Now I do want to be somewhat cautious, because the Spitfire Mark 5 turns really well, and you might be kind of surprised by this. Me saying a Spitfire turns well, I know this is definitely one of the most groundbreaking hot takes of 2024. But the Spitfire just turns quite well. It's a low BR, it's completely over-tiered and the energy definitely isn't that fantastic. But at lower altitudes, it's actually a bit of a menace. And with the 190 you don't want to dogfight people in general. But knowing how much energy they have, or at least the plane can produce and how well it actually turns, makes it a little bit easier to pick your engagement with this thing. Because if you are, for example, flying against a Griffin, it's very different to fighting an LF Mark 9. And it's very different to fighting something like the 5B or the 5C or maybe even the regular Mark 9. They're all kind of similar, you all kind of treat them the same way, but there are some small nuances that you want to deviate from because the planes still interact differently with yours. Now we dive on the F-82, he gets it back to the runway, we manage to crit him, the A6M5 is way too slow, he dodges the head on, so I just basically get a free full send. The F-82 then lands in front of us and we get an assist. Now we are gonna fight the Spitfire, it's the Israeli one and an A6M, so I am sitting at altitude, I'm waiting for the energy trap, and this right here is exactly why I fucking hate tickets. And before you call me salty because I lost to the tickets, nah, we win, but I still want to have an actual fight. In what world is this satisfying? I'm about to energy trap him, I go a little bit more aggressive because, well, I don't want to lose out on the kill. And I still don't make it in time because we have some guys ground pounding. Now normally it's 10 times worse because the AI does it on their own. In this case it was play interaction, so I'm not complaining about this as much. However, the fact the tickets were so low to begin with was because the AI killed each other, which is why it ended so early. extremely annoying. And if you are wondering where my wingtip went, I completely forgot to put it back on. I was making some screenshots earlier and I just forgot to do it. Every game I thought I have to do it next game. I didn't put it on at all. It's on now, but it's like a few weeks later. We see some guys below us. We have a P51 and an I-225. Very easy kills. P51 just pulls for broadside, gives me a very easy shot. We start pitching up for the I-225. We do the same thing. Full broadside, easy shot, set him on fire. F8F is on fire. Another guy on fire. A6M is about to die. Yak3U is also on fire. And there's your thumbnail. Everyone is exploding. One massive fireball. And that's how you fly it. You just kind of send it in. Make sure to get their numbers down before anything really happens. And then you can kind of snowball the enemy team. Yes, you need to hope that your team kind of does something. But that's how this plane just flies. You can't just carry every game with this if you are playing alone. If you are playing in a squad, this thing is extremely effective. Because it has good retention. It is pretty fast. It has a good climb rate. And you are just able to contest everyone at the same time. But if you get everyone on you, you don't really have any options unless you get down tiered or unless the enemy is severely disabled. I-225 pitches up for us, but we set him on fire. He is severely crit. And I'm just gonna mop him up right here because I don't want to deal with this guy later on. Because even though he is crit, he is still airworthy. And if I'm going like 200 kilometers an hour because I'm trying to stall someone out, I'm still gonna eat shit to him. So we disassemble his plane like a Lego kit. And we continue on, and then the biggest menace to this plane starts showing up, at least especially at this altitude. We have a Yak3U. Now we are gonna try to go head on with him, because that's really the only good way of disposing of him. He pulls in, we shoot a few rounds, we dodge the rounds, he gets set on fire. If he dodges that head on and he just turns around for us, very little I can do. I will outdive him because I have a higher rip speed. However, he's just so much faster than us, especially at these altitudes, that I can't really do anything about him. So we need to kill him in that head-on. Luckily for us, he actually takes it. And we instantly welcome him with both arms. And we just start sucking on it. He dies, he burns up. And now the G55 comes in. He dove all the way from orbit. He's losing a lot of speed very quickly. And the G55 is simply not a very strong plane once it loses its energy. It's extremely mediocre. And all it really does have a decent turn rate. But that doesn't really matter if you are going to be dodging the head-on. We disassemble his plane and we go into the next game. Now here is an example of kind of dogfighting. And you can dogfight the P51 D-13 actually even on equal ground. Because you have much better energy generation at super low speed. So you do want to be careful about the medium to high speed. Because the P51 does actually turn quite well. But if you merge properly, if you merge from the head-on, especially when you have a massive energy advantage, you can dogfight them pretty handily. D-13 pulls in. So we wait for him to almost get a shot, and then we simply break off. He can't correct it because he's going too slow. We are going to use the flaps a little bit here to get a lot of position in. And we just kind of stall on top of him. Now we are going to try to pull in. I don't want to pull in too much lead here, because I'm just not going to be able to get the shot. So after getting a little bit of separation, I try to get a shot in. And I still do the mistake that I just said I wasn't trying to do. But it doesn't really matter because he is too slow. We have the energy. And because of the positions now, I can very easily just pull in. And we just, again, slap his plane out of the air. Now we start diving towards the deck. And we are going to clean up one of the attackers. But there's really not much to show you there. Another game, another W. Let's start looking at a bit of a carry situation. I didn't get much of those games. Most of the time our team just kind of won, which made it quite easy to just show the slam games. I put every game that I did in this video and you'll see that they were all pretty one-sided. Yes, I did do a lot of damage early on in most of these games, but that's not the only reason why we were winning. We see a J2M3 and that's a plane I don't want to deal with. It's extremely dangerous and that's why I instantly went for him the second I saw him start engaging the 264. He might get crit by the 264, he might get distracted by him or get tunnel visioned or whatever you have. But he's probably not going to be paying much attention behind him, and that's exactly what happens. The J2M3 is very dangerous. However, it's not very dangerous when it's going 300 km an hour directly in my guns. We just kind of take his plane apart and then we fly on over the FU4. Now, is he going to pitch up for us? Yes, he is. It's a 4B, and the 4B is still a very nasty plane. Despite all the changes that it's gotten, it's not really a nerf, it's more of a side grade. But this is a hard shot. He's almost stalling out. We had much more energy coming into this fight. And we are at a good altitude for a plane like this. So we just kind of pitch on over his nose. And we are gonna drop directly on top of him. Now I am gonna try and engage him. But I also want to engage that A6M3. The A6M3 starts pulling in as well. So I am kind of just licking my lips here, thinking I am gonna kill this guy. But the A6M3 starts going defensive. He's neck-G'ing, he's diving, he's picking up speed. And I have a much smaller chance of hitting him opposed to hitting the FOU-4B. So I'm gonna pull into the FOU. And then I'm simply going to leave. And that's the same thing I did with the Spitfire earlier. I'm just gonna kind of ignore this guy directly on my 6. Now I could have gone for the A6M. But if I had missed that shot, I would have had to deal with an A6M that's now extremely close to me. Together with a plane that can outrun me. So now I dispose of the plane that's faster. We run away for a little bit. We get a bit of separation. And the N1K and the A6M break off after a while because I am simply faster than them. There's also B-17 in front of us. So I thought, well, I'm just going to keep flying straight for a bit. Maybe I'll get a kill on him. But I noticed that the C-5 is getting pretty close. And as you can see in the kill feed, they are now performing a bit of a mating ritual. Now I see an FOU across the map at medium altitude. But I'm not gonna wait for him to calm down. It's gonna take me way too much time to actually dispose of him. And by the time I get to him, the game is probably over. So I'd rather go down to the deck here and kill these two planes that are both very annoying to kill on their own. Especially when they're next to each other. And right now I have a lot of energy because they were just busy shooting another dude. So I killed the A6M. I then go head on with the Key 61, but I'm going way too fast and I'm not really in a hurry. I have the performance advantage, especially in the energy that I have stored up at this point. So instead of taking a risky head-on where we can maybe trade, I'm simply gonna go straight up. And this guy has no chance of following this, because he is simply way too slow. So we get behind him here. I'm not really in a hurry. I'm just gonna keep my ground, turn horizontally, and just kind of wait for his balls to drain. He doesn't have any altitude here to dive out for. And he's not gonna get energy out of nowhere, so I can kind of just wait until I have a good position. The Key 61 doesn't have good retention, it doesn't have a good engine, and it's gonna run out eventually. And we also just turn his plane into a bit of a Lego kit. Now we start climbing and then we notice the FOU together with the B-26 directly on the deck. So these are the last two guys here, so it's not gonna be a super hard kill. But I want to be wary of the FOU. Now we saw in the kill feed a little bit ago when he killed the bomber in my team that it's an FOU-1. Now that's probably going to mean that it's an FOU-1C, so I just want to be careful of the guns. And other than that, I have a very easy win here. I want to engage the FOU first, but he starts disengaging or breaking off. And the B-26 is a bit of a free kill right here, and I don't want him to start gunshipping me once I start dogfighting the FOU. So the FOU gives me a lot of room here, gives me the ability to just shit on the bomber, which I do, and then we break off, re-engage with the FOU, and we get on the 6. And because we have so much speed, altitude and performance, we kind of just get on him instantly. He tried to bait me going for the bomber and then catch me off guard. Unfortunately for him, that was kind of what I wanted him to do. Sure, I didn't plan for it, but it was perfect for us. So we now just kind of sit on this 6. We pull vertical to get a bit of separation. And when you get separation with a plane that doesn't turn particularly well, you get a pretty nice firing angle. So we take him apart and we go to the next game. And this is not a super interesting one, and it's the last game that I did. And I thought, well, I already have all the other games in the video. I might as well add this one as well. And you can tell it's the last game because I have a wingtip on my plane again. I read some comments and they're on Discord, they are on Reddit, they are on my YouTube. They are basically everywhere where people say, I do the exact same thing as you, except I always die because my enemies aren't bad. Now, I'm just gonna show you something here. This J2M2 is doing a bit of a classic kind of energy trap. Now he is trying to stay fast, he is trying to keep his altitude, and he's waiting for me to pitch up into him. He's however not taking into account that we are going 646 kilometers, at least from speed level. So we have quite a bit of straight line speed here. We have a lot of energy stored up. And this guy is gonna try to use his superior energy generation at low speed to get away from us. Now I'm just kind of sitting below him. I'm not trying to pitch up for him. I'm not trying to lose speed. I'm trying to close the gap before I start burning speed, because once I get close enough, I'm on a 6, and if he's going slow, if he tries to stall me out, he's simply going to die. He gets me way too close, he waits way too long, And all I really need to do now is reel him in. I'm gonna kind of cut him off. I'm not gonna go too steep. He should have turned on earlier and he shouldn't have gone so vertical. If you see your enemy not complying with your battle plan, you need to change it up. And otherwise you're gonna end up like Kelvin over here. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching and you'll see me in the next one.